friends, Miss Danny from the Pleasant Hills Public Library, and I'm so excited you're joining me today for STEAM Stories. So, let's see. Do you remember what STEAM stands for? I bet you do, because you're pretty smart. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And today we're going to be dealing with all of those subject areas as they pertain to catapults. So do you know what a catapult is? A catapult is a type of machine that can throw things through the air. In medieval times, it was often used as a weapon, and they would throw rocks or hot tar through the air. Nowadays, we don't use it as a weapon, and you really don't see catapults often, although we will talk a little bit later about a really fun competition involving pumpkins. Before we move on, let's look at some pictures of ancient catapults and learn a little bit more.
Catapults were very common and an important weapon during the Middle Ages. Castles and fortified walled cities were common during this time period, and catapults were a key weapon. Often catapults were set on high ground or on castle towers to let them shoot further. They would shoot rocks to break down castle walls and pitch or hot tar to set targets on fire. Catapults use weight and levers to send rocks and other things into the air. The trajectory is the path that the projectile takes as it flies through the air. This is influenced by the push force of the catapult, the angle of the release, the weight of the projectile or item that's being thrown, air resistance, and gravity. As you can see, there's quite a lot of factors at play.
Our first story today features a catapult being used as a weapon, but luckily they're not throwing rocks. They're throwing marshmallows. This is the Marshmallow Incident, written by Judi Barrett, illustrated by Ron Barrett, and read today with permission of Scholastic Press. The Marshmallow Incident occurred a very long time ago. So long ago that most people have forgotten why it happened in the first place. Fortunately, the true story was recorded in a diary that was found in the ruins of an ancient castle, hidden in an old and stale box of marshmallows. The diary tells the story of two neighboring towns, the town of Left and the town of Right. They were named that way because everyone who lived in the town of Left was left-handed, and everyone who lived in the town of Right was right-handed, and it had been that way for endless generations. This difference seemed so extreme to the people of Left and Right that they refused to have anything to do with one another. It didn't help that someone had painted a bright yellow dotted line between the two towns. The people didn't know who had done it or why, but they never trespassed on or over the line. Both towns were watched over by the order of the ambidextrous knights of the dotted yellow line, who lived in a small castle right smack in the middle of that dotted yellow line, and whose sole mission in life was to make sure that nobody crossed that dotted yellow line. They kept the line neat and clean, repainted it when it started to fade, and guarded it really well. Lefties, stay back. Righties, stay back. Lefties, go no further. Stop. Go right home. You're way too close. The knights also guarded something else really well. Their marshmallows. A few years earlier, one of the knights had entered a poetry contest and won first prize, which just happened to be 50,000 boxes of marshmallows. Roses are red, violets are blue. I like marshmallows because they're made of sticky goo. That was an awful lot of marshmallows. When they were delivered to the castle, the knights stacked them up high inside the front gates. Whew. What would you do with that many marshmallows? Well, the knights snacked on them, ate them with peanut butter, melted them on baked potatoes, floated them in their hot cocoa, put them on pizza, spun them into fluff, fed them to their horses as special treats, and roasted them. One sunny June day, the town of Wright was having its annual picnic, complete with soup and biscuits. Kids were running around and climbing up and down the trees and on top of the stone walls, and they were getting very close to that dotted yellow line. So someone went running after them to keep them away from it. Well, before he knew it, he tripped on a rock and went flying over the line and landed in the town of Left. He knew there was going to be trouble, and there certainly was. When the knights saw what had happened, they immediately whipped themselves into a frenzy. The line had been crossed! Since it had never happened before, they shouted orders to one another to mount their horses and grab the nearest ammunition, which, oddly enough, turned out to be marshmallows. The knights strapped several boxes of marshmallows onto their horses and swarmed out of the castle in a major tizzy to do their knightly duty and defend the dotted yellow line. Galloping around, they filled their catapults and fired thousands of marshmallows into the air. Birds caught hold of them in flight, and people ran for shelter. So if you look here, you can see that the castle wall is lined with catapults. After just a few minutes, it looked as if there'd been a blizzard. The countryside was littered white with marshmallows. The marshmallows gently bounced off houses and heads, rolled down hills, floated across the lake, got stuck in trees, and amused and confused the cows. The attack continued until one of the knights realized how silly the whole thing was. He climbed on top of a large pile of marshmallows, raised his hands high in the air, and yelled, "Why do we have this line? It's been here for years and years, but it seems to create problems instead of solving them. Let's wipe it out." "Not so fast," the townspeople shouted back. "This calls for a town meeting of both towns." Well, later that afternoon, the townspeople met, and the knights stood by to keep the peace. In the end, no one could come up with a truly sensible reason to keep the line, so they decided they should and would get rid of it. "No more line!" shouted the townspeople as they danced around in celebration. "No more line! No more line! No more line!" And then, for the first time ever, the townspeople crossed over the line and introduced themselves. They even shook hands and chatted. Everyone had a good time playing with the marshmallows. They made finger puppets out of them and invented games like Tic-Tac Marshmallow and Base Marshmallow. People painted with them, slept on them, and turned them into sculptures. Someone even built a small version of the pyramids. That night, all the people from the towns of Left and Right roasted marshmallows over a huge, roaring campfire. The knights and their horses were there, too. Everyone sat in a circle and sang their favorite songs while munching on these delicious, gooey treats. The next day, using mops, brushes, soap, and water, all the townspeople joined together happily to remove the old dotted yellow line. They rubbed at it and scrubbed at it until the line was completely gone. In time, all the marshmallows disappeared. The rains melted them and washed them away. And every year after that, on the anniversary of the Marshmallow Incident, the towns of Left and Right held a campfire. The knights always supplied a sensible number of marshmallows for the townspeople to roast, and everyone continued to live peacefully and sweetly ever after. Catapults haven't been used as a weapon in modern warfare since World War I. Nowadays, you probably won't see them unless you're at a museum or visiting an ancient battleground, or if you go to a pumpkin chunkin' contest. There's an annual world championship that's held usually in Delaware, but sometimes in other parts of the United States. And there's some really neat catapults. If you'd like to learn more, I suggest you visit their website, pumpkinchunkin.com. Our next story is another silly use of a catapult. In this story, they use a catapult to launch a pancake into space. That's crazy. This is The Clever Cowboy, written by Angela McAllister, illustrated by Catherine Lodge, and read with permission of DK Inc. Clever Cowboy was a clever cowboy. He could cook a dish of chili beans so hot that your socks would jump off and dive in the creek. He could dance the yakety-yak so fast that sparks flew from his boot heels. And he could hear a mean snake dream a-rattling as it slept in the shade of a cactus. Well, one day, Clever Cowboy needed some rope and a haircut, so he rode into Yippyville and tied up his horse. Outside the general store was a poster that said, "Today, Yippyville Pancake Tossing Competition. First prize, Old Nantucket's best telescope. Contest begins at 12 noon. I reckon my old ma could do with that telescope to look for my long-lost sister Kate," said Clever Cowboy. "What time is it, old buddy?" he asked a shadow. 11 o'clock, said the shadow. All around town in secret places, folks were stirring up their special batters, hoping to win the prize. Fred Farmer added a pinch of birdseed to his mixture. Miss Prissy in the schoolhouse stirred hers with a silver spoon. The sheriff couldn't cook, so he made Six-Shooter Sam mix some batter in his cell. But Clever Cowboy kicked off his boot and reached inside for his old ma's recipe. "Well, that's the one for me," he said, and he mixed it up. At 12 noon, all the frying pans of Yippyville were spitting, sizzling hot. The judge was the judge, and he fired his gun, and the pancake tossing began. Well, the sheriff tossed his pancake high into the air, and it flew over the jailhouse roof and landed on the head of Six-Shooter Sam, who was escaping out the back, and everyone cheered. Miss Prissy's pancake sat prettily in the pan, as still as a teacher's pet, and everyone booed. Fred Farmer tossed his pancake high above the big barn, and everyone cheered again. Look where it landed. Well, next came Clever Cowboy. He felt his lucky pebble in his pocket and whispered low, "Get me up when I'm down, get me out when I'm stuck, give me rainbows of happy and a pocket full of luck." Then he tossed his pancake up and up and up and up, and it didn't come down.
"Well, we can't have a winner with no pancake," said the judge. "Try again, cowboy."
So Clever Cowboy fried another pancake and tossed it up, 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 and up, and up, and up, and up, and then everything went dark. "Oh, reckon I tossed that pancake so high it just stuck on the sun and put the lights out," said Clever. "Well," said the judge, "you better figure out a way of peeling it off, or I'll have to send everyone to bed." Clever had an idea. He bought a parasol, a ball of elastic, a hammer, 10 eggs and a cow, and a sack of flour. Then he made a giant, elasticated, one-seater frying pan catapult and mixed up a barrel of batter. The folks of Yippyville watched and waited. But nothing happened next. And then more nothing. And then nothing happened over again. Clever just stuck his hands deep in his pocket and kicked the dust. "Well, look here, we ain't got all day. All night, cowboy," said the judge. Clever had to come clean. "Oh, I can't go up, folks," he said. "Guess I'm unafraid of heights." And the folks gasped. Who else could ride on that pancake? "I'll go up," said Six-Shooter Sam, leaping out of an escape tunnel nearby. He jumped on the giant elasticated one-seater frying pan catapult.
"Well, you don't get away that easily,"
called the sheriff, pulling out his handcuffs. But Six-Shooter Sam took hold of the lever and pew! He catapulted into the afternoon night. Well, everyone held their breath as 6-shooter zipped between the stars. "Howdy do!" he cried to the sleepy moon. Then with a whip of a stolen lasso, he flipped off that prize-winning pancake, and the sun came out. Well, the folks of Yippyville cried, "Yippee!" and 6-shooter dropped down, 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 down onto Fred's haystack.
Just hold your handcuffs there,
said the judge as the sheriff took 6-shooter Sam back to jail. "That brave man has saved the day. I reckon 6-shooter deserves a pardon." "Oh, it's just my lucky pebble," said 6-shooter. "Gets me up when I'm down, gets me out when I'm stuck, gives me rainbows of happy and a pocket full of luck." "Why, it's long-lost Kate!" cried Clever. "I declare the winner of the pancake tossing competition to be Clever Cowboy and his eclipsing pancake," said the judge, who was the judge and had come to do the judging. Everyone cheered. Old Nantucket brought out her banjo, and Clever and Kate danced the yakety-yak so fast that sparks flew from their bucking boot heels. And then they danced some more. Before we get to our STEAM challenge, I'd like to talk ever so briefly about some books that you can check out. We are still offering curbside pickup service, so if you'd like to start a curbside pickup order, give us a call at 412-655-2424 or email us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net. We're also excited to announce that we are open now for appointment only, so you can make an appointment to come and browse. I should note that the children's department is still closed due to the bathroom construction, but if you let us know what kind of books you'd like, we can pull them up and you can choose from those. If you'd like to make an appointment, you do need to call, and the number again is 412-655-2424. In just a few minutes, we're going to go over the 3 different ways you can make a catapult with the items in our STEAM kit. But if you'd like to learn about other ways to make catapults, you'll want to check out this cool book, Tabletop Wars, Break the Siege, Make Your Own Catapults by Rob Ives. If you're a fan of Star Wars and STEAM challenges, you'll want to check out this cool book. This is Star Wars Maker Lab, written by the folks at DK Publishing, and it features lots of really cool different STEAM activities, one of which is an Ewok catapult. What? Our last book recommendation is this fun picture book from the Property Brothers, Builder Brothers Big Plans by Jonathan and Drew Scott, illustrated by Kim Smith. In this story, the brothers aren't quite sure what to build. Should they build a catapult, a doghouse, a birdhouse? I don't know. You'll have to read it to find out. And now it's time for STEAM! So our STEAM challenge today is to design and build your own working catapult. Now this is of course going to be a miniature catapult. We are not building gigantic crazy catapults, just little ones that you can use with small objects. You can get all the supplies you need to build 3 different types of catapults in our STEAM kit that is available for pickup in our parking lot during our curbside pickup hours while supplies last. If you would like to reserve a kit for this week or future weeks, please let us know. Email us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net. If you can't get our kit for whatever reason, I bet that you can look around your house and find most of the supplies you'll need to make at least one of the 3 different types of catapults. In our kit is an instruction sheet, 15 popsicle sticks, a plastic spoon, 5 rubber bands, 2 paper cups, and a small binder clip. And now let's learn how we can make some cool catapults. So seen here is all of the supplies that come in our kit. We're going to talk about 3 different ways that you can build a catapult using these supplies. The first type of catapult uses rubber bands and a spoon, and we're going to need 9 out of the 15 popsicle sticks. So let's move everything else out of the way. We're going to start by stacking 7 of the popsicle sticks on top of each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure they make a nice and neat stack.
like that. Use a rubber band on either side to hold that stack in place. Keep twisting your rubber band until you can't do it anymore. Make sure to do both sides so that your stack is extra secure. Next, we're going to take our 2 popsicle sticks and tie a rubber band around just one end. Before we complete our catapult, we need to attach something that will hold our pom-pom or other small object and fling it across the room. For our first one, we're using a spoon. Put your finger in between the 2 to kind of hold those open and put one hand on the spoon. This is a little tricky, so you might need another set of hands if you can manage it. Wrap that spoon around, wrap that rubber band around the spoon to secure it in place. And then push the rubber band down as far as you can. Then get your other rubber band and do it again at the top of the spoon and the stick. This will hold that spoon super steady while we're flinging. All right. For our last step for this catapult, we're going to take our stack of popsicle sticks and shove it in as far as you can get it to go. That's pretty good. What do you think, friends? Pretty neat. Let's test it out now. To test your spoon catapult out, use one hand to hold the catapult in place on a flat surface. I'm using this table, but you could also do this on the floor. Take your other hand, pick up that pom-pom or other small object, put it in the spoon, then push down as hard as you can, and ready? 1, 2, 3, whoa! Did you see that? That was pretty cool. To do our second catapult, you will need to disassemble the first one. Remove the stick that has the spoon attached. Glue the paper cup on one end of another popsicle stick and attach it using the rubber band where the other stick was. Make sure to put the stack back in to create a wedge that makes the spring for your object to fly through the air. Now, let's test it out. So now let's test out our paper cup catapult. Just like before, hold it down, put your pom-pom or other small object in, push it down and... Not as good as the spoon, but still pretty cool. Now I'm going to show you how to do that third catapult. On the instruction sheet it says it's a binder clip and bottle cap, but that was a misprint. It's actually a paper cap, just like our second one. Now I also said that you could use regular glue to put this one together. And well, friends, I'm sorry to say that I was wrong. I tried and it didn't survive my test. So this one really does need hot glue, which again, only use with adult supervision. To do this one, we're going to take our popsicles and arrange them in a triangle shape, and we're going to apply glue to all 3 corners. Now, hot glue requires adult supervision because, well, it's hot. And if you've ever burnt yourself with it, you know that it's quite a painful experience. So make sure to be very safe. The nice thing about hot glue, though, is that it dries really fast and it dries pretty strong. Once it's dry, if you have any glue strings like I do, you can always pull those off. Once you have your triangle, we're going to attach the base stick. You can pick a corner, and it really doesn't matter which one to attach it to. I'm going to go with this one right here. Once that's down, we're going to attach it wherever it meets the other intersecting stick. Ow, ooh, see, gotta be careful. Even grown-ups get hurt with hot glue gun sometimes. So now we have kind of a Deathly Hallows looking shape. Pull off those extra strings. And that's where our binder clip comes into play. Practice opening it. Mine's still gooey from my failed experiment earlier. We're going to face it with the clip parts coming down and the opening going up. You're going to want to use a lot of hot glue to hold it in place. Normally I say a little bit of glue goes a long way, but in this case, the more glue, the better. I even added a little bit of extra glue over that clip. Uh-oh, big air bubble. There it is, friends. Now we're going to take our other stick, and mine, this part survived, so I'm going to keep that. You're going to attach your paper cup to the top of that stick, and we're going to take the bottom of it and glue it onto our binder clip. Put the glue right on there, push it down, and then maneuver, whoa, a little bit of extra glue. It's probably actually easier, ooh, ow, live and you learn, friends, to do it upside down. There we go. See, we're learning together. Ooh, it's messy, but I think it's gonna work. Let's test it and find out.
And now let's test our binder clip and paper cup catapult. Grab your pom-pom or other small object. And for this one, I found, again through trial and error, it's actually best to kind of push it down here and here. Ready, go! Oh, that was disappointing. Let's try it again. Woo! Second time's the charm! So friends, whether you make one or all three of the different type of catapults, we would love to see pictures of your completed projects. You can add pictures as a comment to this video. You can email them to us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net, or you can post them to our special Facebook group, Pleasant Hills Library Virtual Programming. We'd also love to hear which catapult worked best for you. Was it the spoon, the paper cup, or the binder clip? For me, the spoon worked best, but maybe for you, a different one will work even better. I hope you've enjoyed this week's STEAM Stories. We'll be back in 2 weeks on October 28th for Room on the Broom, where we'll talk about balance, plus I have a few fun pumpkin-themed STEAM projects for you. Kits for that week will be available starting Monday, October 26th until supplies last. Again, if you'd like to request a kit, you can do so by emailing us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net. Thanks for joining me, friends. Have a good day. Bye.